right.
You guys taking your first little sippy poo?
Not yet.
Oh, no.
First one I pulled back.
I don't know what we thought about this the first time.
I don't remember drinking it, honestly. It's kind of...
It's probably been...
I was looking at the
3
bottles
years.
because I was trying to pick which one that can... because, guys, look, we've got a specific equation when it comes to serving drinks. And when we have guests, we've got to be careful because if we pull from a bottle that won't allow us to equally distribute it like 3-4 ways down the road,
then it's really ugly.
I'm going to have to drink it.
Yeah.
And, or it's going to have to go into our infinity bottle. I don't know if you noticed out in the green room, we've got a big old bottle, big gallon jug.
Okay.
That is our infinity bottle. It's got over 70 bottles in it.
Oh,
nice.
It's very good.
It's very good.
It is fantastic.
That's a blended whiskey right there.
It is.
Seriously.
All right, folks. Welcome to the Dudes Like Us podcast. It's September 23rd, 2025. It's the first half of our Dudes Like Us podcast. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram-podcast or Woodcraft if you guys want to pick up some of our swag. We have a couple guests tonight, and I'm super excited. We're not going to talk too much about how I know you guys, but, like that nefarious bar, in the back, selling dime bags. I don't know what that was all about. Dudes Like Us, I'm Sean.
I'm Paul.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Craig.
I'm Greg.
All right.
All right. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Glad to be here, sir.
Craig and Jake. Craig and Jake. Oh, my God. I can't even say it. It's first half. What the fuck?
God, you drunk already?
It feels like it.
Wow, cheap date.
Jeez.
All right. Well, look, I was chatting with Greg a month or two ago and was sharing with him about what we do on the podcast and what we like to talk about. We talk about dudes like us, things that we do in life and normal thresholds, abnormal thresholds that we do. Different way of growing up, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, taking kids to school, college the first time, the different phases of life, deaths, births, kids getting married, empty nesters. It's nonstop. And a lot of times we go back in time and we look at some of the charts of the 80s, 90s, and we kind of reminisce about one-hit wonders. And, it's we're the ADD classic thing to listen to because we're not just one thing. And, of course, I'm the conspiracy guy.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. And we give him shit for it.
For sure.
Yeah, you sure do. But this chair sucks, man. My fat ass keeps going down on it.
It's a conspiracy.
It is conspiracy.
I think that rod underneath is trying to interject.
Yes.
It's going to impale me one of these days. All right, well, what say you guys? Let's start off and explain to us why you're here today.
Well, first of all, for the invitation, I want to thank you guys for inviting us to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. Excited to have some discussions and shenanigans accordingly. But essentially, this turned
I'm just
into...
here for the free drinks. But
There
thank
you go.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
I like this guy already.
But yeah, we
We got more
got...
of that club soda.
But yeah, Sean, you and I got to talking about various subjects, and we really got into some pretty deep discussion.
Yeah, we did.
And it was really fascinating to hear, some of your points of view, and a lot of them really lined up with mine. So it seemed there was a lot of like-mindedness there. And it kind of spawned the conversation of joining on this podcast. So, I've done a few of them. Me and Craig are actually looking to get one started up of our own, and we're trying to get that one kicked off.
Nice.
So I invited Craig to come with me, of course, with your invitation, Sean, to really stick his nose in, get some free drinks, and see what he can pick up here. That
Whenever you have the opportunity to hang out with quality men, it always make time for that. Greg and I have known each other for 30 years now. We were
So
fraternity.
you probably need to clarify that.
Yeah. Give us 5 minutes before you give us that benefit.
Just looking over the resumes, it seems to check out.
Right.
But we were fraternity brothers at North Texas, and since then we started what's called a Junto, and we've been meeting with that once a
what?
month. A Junto was started by Ben Franklin, and it's Latin for a meeting. And at the time, Ben Franklin and his buddies felt that there was just too much going on in the world for any one person to digest that. So him and his buddies would get together and just talk about what's going on in science, what's going on in the news. And so there are Junto clubs out there. Our buddy Seth is the one who started it. And you get together. You can do it whatever frequency you want. We do it once a month, but you bring a presentation, 5-10 minutes long about something you find interesting. And that could be finance, that could be something in science, that could be like I did one this past Sunday on the 25 plants that are illegal in the United States. And just kind of went through that. It's kind of funny, you know, like
the really invasive plants.
Invasive plants, cocaine, opium, khat, you know, that kind of stuff. The
Cocaine is a plant?
You know, the funny thing is that when you
Plants
look
of
at one, it just looks like a shrub. I'm
Yeah.
like, I could grow this in my front yard. Nobody would know it. And there are some plants on there that one of my neighbors actually has growing in his front yard. And I thought, oh man, that's totally illegal.
It's a cocaine plant?
It's called a moonflower.
Oh.
And the seed pod on it creates hallucinations.
Mm.
And it's kind of like, I don't know if your grandparents were gardener, but like oleander. Technically,
Oleander,
it's
right.
illegal, super poisonous, very popular plant in the 40s and 50s. So
Interesting.
they're still around. I mean, it's not like they're dousing them with
Yeah, there
chemicals.
was a neighbor just a few houses down that had oleander all along their fence.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things.
You know,
that
they are
invasive.
deadly, but, you know, there are some arguments or some controversies on some of these deadly plants that taken in specific doses or a mixture of other, that they're healthy. Are these 20 part of that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so just as background, I'm a pharmacist. So I got a doctorate in pharmacy from Texas Tech, and we found out 2,000 years ago that the poison is in the dose. And so same thing, like digitalis comes from a plant that taken at high enough doses will kill you. At low enough doses, if you have a heart that has an irregular rhythm, you take digitalis and it gets the heart back going
Interesting.
the way it should. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
And then, you know, they tested it out on a bunch of villagers, and a lot of them were no longer with them.
Some things you have to find out the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The village idiot was the one that was like, okay, this dose, too much.
Well,
Let's
just
get
like
Mikey. He likes it.
like we were talking last week about cashews, and we learned that cashew is the seed of a fruit. It's not an actual nut.
Mhm.
And in order to make it, it's in a shell, but what's inside is a toxin that the lady we were listening to that said is similar to poison ivy toxin. I'm like, who figured that out? Did they eat it? And then just have some problematic fruits or what?
Cashews
Probably
suck.
so.
Yeah.
God.
Who tried that? How'd they find that out the hard way, I guess?
Trial and error through
Thanks,
as in a
Obama.
lot of things. So basically, the Junto group, really guys that have a thirst for knowledge still.
Sure.
A little bit of a nerd coming out in all of us. We're always trying to learn more, and that was another thing that Ben Franklin did with this Junto was get to a point where they were dividing up the study of a certain subject, and 5 guys, for instance, would break it up into 5 sections, and each one would do their research. Now, this was coming from a time where they didn't have libraries yet.
Right.
So doing the manpower to do research on something, it took a lot more. So they divided and conquered and came back and shared the information. And basically you could walk away at the end of that with the full breadth of knowledge on it with 1/5, using round numbers, of the time that you'd put into it. Now, Ben Franklin actually wrote about this in his autobiography, and that's where Seth originally came across the autobiography, read it, and then passed it around to each one of us, and then said, hey, we should do this Junto thing. That looks kind of cool. And it was like, well, actually, that would be kind of cool. Let's do that. And the results of that, first of all, some of the best friends that we had in college, we get together and we have time for fellowship. We break bread together. We have this thirst for knowledge that we get to quench with doing research and presenting on something. So it kind of kept us into our studious scholarly ways in college.
Sure.
And
it cuts out all the excuses of, hey, I want to hang out with Jim Bob over there, and we'll talk to you next time, and then it never happens.
Right.
Right.
Life gets in the way.
Exactly.
But you're carving out time that's like protected.
Amen.
Yeah, it's
Kind of like
great.
our podcast. We carve
Yeah.
out time and it's protected. This is our own junta.
Yeah.
I mean, Tuesdays.
We do zero research, though.
No. No. We haven't given each other enough time.
I mean, if it
think
sounds
that's
right.
If you listen, we usually find out by Chuck that we're usually wrong because he'll fact check us live, and
Right.
yeah, we're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
We're
fun
wrong.
though. They're fun
Yeah.
circles, and it's the travels to get where we're going is what's important, because we're so full of shit sometimes.
We sound very confident in our bullshit.
We're
Well,
not the podcast of misinformation. We're the podcast of incorrect information.
Hey, there you
Right.
go,
Yeah,
man.
right.
That's
Yeah,
great.
Which is the difference. Yeah.
Well, this kind of fellowship is actually something that has been shown to really be rewarding for men specifically,
Sure.
which is a little bit different than women. Women socialize, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. We have our different makeup and compositions and brain patterns, etc. And, men specifically have a little bit more of this need for a fellowship with other men.
Mhm.
And it becomes very rewarding when you have that good, wholesome fellowship. That's really part of what has spawned, ancient fraternities that got started. The reward that they got from that.
We've
Right.
talked about this so many times about how. So Greg here is, I forget the title, but he was the Grand Poobah of the Masonic Temple in Fort Worth, and which is a beautiful building. If you've never been, they do weddings and stuff like that there. But if you look at our grandparents' generation, they were in a Masons or Rotary Club or a bowling league or something involved in their community, instead of, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to drive home, I'm going to watch television, I'm going to go to bed. Rinse
repeat.
Yeah, it's
For sure.
it doesn't work. We're meant to be communal, and I'm real proud of Greg for being in the Masons because of that. I think trying to promote that with guys, and it doesn't have to be the Masons. He has a familial tie to it, but it could be anything for guys to get together, or
Yeah.
the ladies as well.
So what's the story behind the skimpy outfits you guys wear? What? Oh, sorry.
The goat and everything else that's supposedly
the lizard.
What is that jar of fluid outside?
The lizard people who eat mice raw. Yes,
It's a rather thick
all
sash.
true.
Right.
Yes.
I originally got introduced to Masonry through my grandfather, who was my hero growing up. He was the man that taught me to be a man. That's who really was the male influence in my
Nice.
life. And he comes from the greatest generation. He was a pilot in World War II. He was one of the first commanding officers after World War II when they started the Air Force, which actually their birthday was just last week. He was one of the first commanding officers in the Air Force when it was founded. And he also flew in the Korean conflict.
Mhm.
And, he's got the Silver Star, the Navy Flying Cross,
Wow.
and, retired after spending his whole career in there. And it was just, he comes from that group of people that made it through some of the harshest times, through the Great Depression, through World War II, through the Great Awakening, across the world. And it set that tone for that post-World War II era that is, I don't know, I think I could comfortably say I think we're kind of getting away from that right now.
Oh, yeah.
We could go into that, though. But he
We've
was a
lost
part of that.
that resilience, that accountability,
sadly,
all that
sadly.
stuff.
But he was a part. He was one of those that made it through it and through all of the challenges, along with many of our other grandfathers. We wouldn't all be sitting here today if it wasn't for those strong men that made it through those tough times.
For sure.
Not only then, but throughout history. We're basically the culmination of greatness throughout our gene's history. The strongest survive. But after that, I think that's why they called them the greatest generation, is because they overcame so many big obstacles and they made it through. You don't go to the gym and lift light weights to get stronger. The same goes for life. And they went through a lot of harsh stuff and they overcame it, and they were very resilient and strong as nails.
And seemingly didn't complain.
Yeah,
No.
seriously.
I mean, they came back from the
Yeah.
most horrific experiences and got married, had kids, got a great job, and did, like all the things you just said. They just did it.
They just
Exactly.
did it. They did it.
It's amazing. And that's the reason why they call it the greatest generation, man.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because Jack Daniels was really inexpensive back then.
Oh, that's true. That had a big part of it, didn't it?
Yes.
True.
It helps. It does help.
But back to that, my grandfather was a Mason, and as were a lot of some of my other family members. That my great grandfather, my great great. I mean, it went back pretty far, and I had some uncles from the woman's side of the family as well, and her father. So there was a lot of family ties there, and there was this experience I had as a kid seeing these I was living with my grandfather in high school, and these men came and knocked on the door, and I answered it, and it was just, this group of 5 guys that all had suits on that were there to see him, and I was like, what is this, So I got to kind of stick around and watch and see what's going on, and they basically drove down from Oklahoma, where his original home lodge was, to present him with a 50-year service award.
Oh, nice.
In masonry, you get, after you've been raised as a master mason, you got a clock that starts, and you got like a birthday every year after that for that. And then after so many years, you hit that 50-year mark, then they really like come out and, give you an award, give you a pin, do a whole event for you. And then they do them like at 60, 65, 70, and 75.
Well, can you, because I've heard of the Freemasons my entire life, but I don't know if I fully understand what the Masons are and what they do and what they are essentially.
Yeah, because they've got there's some, I don't want to say spooky, but there's some like people like concoct some weird things about it. Like they're like superstitious.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of weird,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So talk about that.
Yeah, there's a ton of conspiracies out there.
Yeah.
And this is a big, the history is so long and so old.
Right.
And, a lot of documents have not been fully discovered. There's a lot of folklore that goes along too that you can kind of weed through.
Well, when you're ignorant about information, you make up stuff. And I think that's what's happened. I mean, if it's not right out in the open as a very public, organization, then people are going to make up stuff. They have. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And then there's been conflicts throughout history that, has really fueled that, particularly with the Catholic Church. And if I could go back to where Masons really get their ultimate roots from, it goes back to the Knights Templar.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And there was, just to briefly brush over that, there was, the Knights Templar were the Navy SEALs of their time. They were a force that was built basically to protect the Christian pilgrims going to Jerusalem, that were constantly being raided and murdered and robbed by
it was a dangerous path, man.
It's a dangerous path, and it was the Muslim raiders that were basically terrorizing them on their pilgrimage. So the Knights Templar was originally founded to protect them along the way. And they grew to this, massive force. They had these requirements. You already had to be a knight. You had to be knighted by some kingdom. You had to have wealth. You had to come with your horse, your squire, your equipment, your money.
Yeah.
And that grew tremendously over time. And they got to the point where they really became a force of the Catholic Church too. They were protecting the Catholic Church. They were fighting wars for them. They kind of grew into this mercenary force. And then if you fast forward to King Philip of France at the time, was best friends with the Grand Commander of the Commandery, who was basically the chief of staff of everybody in the chain of command. And then you had different conclaves of them spread out, but he was the head, and he was based in Paris. And King Philip had engaged, the Grand Commander to, hire the Knights Templar to fight a battle for him, to fight a war. This commander's name was Jacques de Molay. And after this war, Jacques and King Philip were having a conversation, and Jacques was going, well, let's follow up on this. I haven't had the chance to talk to you about it, but more or less you promised us money for this, and when would you like to take care of that? Mm-hmm. And Philip basically double-crossed him at that point. And after that conversation, sent a messenger to the Vatican with a message that the Knights Templar were heretics and were going against the Catholic Church, and then turned right around and arrested Jacques de Molay and his commanding officers.
Oh, wow.
And then the Knights Templar saw what was going on, and they gathered. I mean, these guys they were the protectors of all of the Christian relics. So some of the stuff that goes all the way back to King Solomon's temple, the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, all of these different things, they were the protectors of it. And so the Knights Templar basically disbanded and spread and grabbed the stuff and left. And, some went to Africa, because that goes way back to King Solomon and his relationship with the Queen of Ethiopia, who he ended up bearing a child with. And so there was colleagues out there they could go to. And so they went there, and then they went up Scandinavia. They went up into the English Isles, and went back to where they came from.
Is it true they found some of the Templars' stuff or symbols here in North America on rocks?
Not that I'm aware of as being actual. No, they didn't. They hadn't made the trek across the pond at that point. That was a later situation. This kind of predates the 1600s. And so when Jacques de Molay was arrested by the French forces, they burned him at the stake outside of the castle, and that was enshrined as the day of Friday the 13th. So the Friday the 13th date, that's where that comes from. Is from the execution of the commander of the Knights Templar, Jacques de Molay. Yeah. And all of those relics went out. And of course, there's a lot of conspiracies from them then, some are up in Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland or in.
So they're not all in a warehouse?
Well, we saw Nick Cage,
Good
right?
question.
Yeah.
Nick Cage tracked all that down.
Yeah,
You're saying
there's
that's
a
not
whole
true,
lot.
then. Okay, that's not true.
Well, oddly enough, I mean, it's a fascinating story, so I could go on about it. I'll try to be quick. But the Catholic Church, that's where the Papal Inquisitions happened. They did the trials for the Knights Templar. They found them to be not guilty, and they let them all go.
Okay.
Surprisingly and oddly enough, that Pope died within 90 days of an accident. King Philip died of a hunting accident within 90 days of that too. So it's like the enemies kind of fell, and but the Knights Templar disbanded. Basically, all of the knights went back to where their homelands were.
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean they had to skedaddle, man. They were getting picked off one by one, right?
That's right. Yeah, and they ended up blending back into society. And what they did was utilized a skill set that they developed during their knighthood. And what they built were these fortresses. They built castles.
Okay.
Forts, castles, these strongholds. And they were expert stonemasons. And what they did was they developed this hierarchy of sorts that labeled which level of expert you were in masonry. And they tied in their rituals from the knighting ceremonies into rituals that, okay, you're an entered apprentice, or you're a fellow crafter, you're a master mason.
Okay.
And over time, that operative organization became less operative, and then it kind of flipped over into a speculative, if you want to call it that. It became more fraternal, and there was not more need for this operative trade guild of sorts, and it now became more of a fraternal guild. And but it didn't
have any war, like no warfare or no. It was all strictly construction, masonry.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. All
right.
And that happened over time, I'm sure.
Yeah, it happened over time. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it happened, but there was this switch from operative to speculative.
Yeah.
And they used a lot of the same symbols and rituals to, do their degrees. And then it turned into a fraternal organization. And that happened somewhere between the 15 and 1600s. And then there was, in England, there was this, all of the UK, there were these different grand lodges, jurisdictions that were all kind of fighting with each other on who had legitimate jurisdiction. And then at some point, and actually it was in 1717, they unified all of the jurisdictions underneath one grand lodge system for the fraternity of Masons. And then they founded the United Grand Lodge of England. And then from there, from 1717, that United Grand Lodge became really what was the ultimate authority for Freemasonry. And it still is
setting the guidelines for each chapter, so to speak.
Absolutely. You have to be recognized by the Grand Lodge of England to be a legitimate.
And they were called lodges, not chapters, not guilds. They were called lodges.
Well, each lodge is called a lodge. Then you have a jurisdiction. So,
interesting.
It moved from the different countries, and then France gave a charter to a Massachusetts lodge, and then they kind of grew from there. Massachusetts gave one to Louisiana, and then Texas during the around the battle with Mexico, because Texans were trying to set up a lodge, and they went to Mexico because that was the jurisdiction in Texas. They wanted to get a charter to have a Texas jurisdiction. And Santa Anna, who was actually a Mason,
Oh wow.
denied it. It was like, no, you're subjects in Mexico. And so
That's why we took over Mexico.
and then of course, the Battle of the Alamo, you got, Travis, Bowie, Sam Houston, Juan Seguin, like all of these guys were Masons. I mean, Davy Crockett was a Mason, and they heard that this word of Texas spread through lodges.
Sure.
And that's how Davy Crockett and the volunteers in Tennessee worked their way down, was through that chatter that went through lodges.
Wow.
And Louisiana gave a charter to Texas to open up its own jurisdiction. And the Battle of San Jacinto, that charter was in the knapsack of Juan Seguin during that battle. And when they captured, they, of course, the story, they beat the Mexicans, was it 10-1 odds? I mean, and the numbers, they were greatly outnumbered, but, remember the Alamo, the anger,
Oh yeah.
they kicked their ass and captured Santa Anna. And Santa Anna, of course, gave his, what Masonry call the grand hailing signs of distress, which is basically, if you're really in need, you give these words and give this signal, then that legitimizes who you are and that you really truly need help and you're obligated to help him. Well, obviously he gave that there.
Interesting.
And word is that sparked the conversation of, should we let him live or should we kill him? And from there it's like, well, he did.
Because he's a fellow Mason.
He is a fellow Mason, so maybe we shouldn't kill him. And then the discussion was, well, actually, this would be better because we could send him back to his country defeated, letting them know that he is no longer. So they'd stripped him of all of his, military gear, and he basically left in his undergarments and went back to Mexico. Santa Anna actually died as a homeless poor man.
Oh wow.
On the streets. And
I've always seen it kind of like a checking account from the old days of, how do you know if this person from a distant land is a good person? Can I trust them? Can I trade with them? How do I know that it's a good person? If you have standards across time, across areas, and that person comes to you and presents to you, hey, I am also in this club. I've been vetted. I'm a good person. You can trade with me. You can do business with me.
Nice.
That's kind of the shorthand of it.
It's like TSA pre-check.
It is. It's a vetting process.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a qualifications to be a Mason.
But it's gone through time.
It's gone through time.
Yeah.
And if you look back at
And
history,
it's multi-country.
Yeah.
yeah,
no,
it's
exactly.
there's a lodge in
Hundreds of years of establishing this kind of
Hundreds.
not rule of law, but a standard, like you said,
Yeah.
a standard of conduct and integrity.
So in order to become a Freeman, you have to be promoted by somebody and introduced into it, or is it just like, hey, I'm walking off the street, I want to be this kind of a thing?
I'll give you the basic rundown. First, you have to have a belief in higher power. Atheists are not qualified to be a Mason. You have to be a good man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you first have to be a man, which is this old ancient thing because it goes back to, the age of slave days, right? So you have to be a freeborn man. You have to be, a belief in God, and you have to have, you got to be a man of good rapport. So you have to be recommended.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Sorry, Jeff, you're out.
So
Keep going.
if you go back
I'm waiting to see if Sean and I are still candidates.
Sean's way out.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. Maybe I'm the last. I might be the last hope of a dude like us.
Well, they let me in, so you guys might have a shot. Well, in the 1940s was probably the golden age. The 30s, 40s, 50s. Anybody who was anybody was in Masonry in America in those times.
Right.
Of course, if you go look back through history, history's some of the most well-known people were a part of that. The list is long. And in the 40s, the golden age, if you want to call it that, everybody kind of knew everybody. So the vetting process was a lot easier. It was
Somebody could vouch for somebody.
You was like, okay, I need to get my friend. It's time for you to get in, or my son or my nephew. It was one of those things. And, and everybody in the lodge already was familiar with them because they were a part of their community and they knew them well. Today, it's a lot different. There's not a lot of,
now they have to look
it's a
at
huge
Facebook post.
You got to look at their OnlyFans and their Instagrams.
Wow.
You got to make sure there's not one of those. Yeah, there's
How does one go through OnlyFans if you don't have an account?
no judgments here,
Greg.
There's a master account just for Jeff.
Yeah, so it's different.
Greg has
now.
a chapter in feet.
Stay out of my business, please. But yeah, now it's different. The population is dramatically grown.
It's hard to keep up with a small world organization like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things to compete with your time now. You didn't have all the pro sports on TV. You didn't have all these different things to do. I mean, Masonry is the original fraternity. They're the OG. They started fraternities. Sure. And since then,
like on the Flintstones, Barney and Fred Rubble.
Yeah, but
I'm going to lunch, Barney.
Yeah, with the
elks.
the moose head.
Yeah.
That was the deal.
Was that an elk head or a moose head?
They were making fun of the elks, the elk lodge.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a reputable
It is
fraternity to be in.
And what do they do? Like what do they do? Like charity work?
Lots
do
of
they
charity.
do?
Lots. Of
Yeah,
charity.
there's a lot of charity work. And I guess if you want to say the main thing is going to be fellowship,
Right?
What
Reason to get together and kind of iron sharpening iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
Right.
Every one of these guys has been well recommended. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's taking care of his family. Here's the other thing. He wants to be a better man for his family and his community.
Love it.
And he's trying to improve. And that's like the common thread.
And he's got he's got a support group to do it.
That's right. It kind of weaves that blanket with all of us in our different threads. And when you get around other people that are in that same position, it's like it motivates. When I get around Craig, I get motivated. And I get around some of my other Mason buddies and I get motivated. And it's just, it's that iron sharpens iron. It really is the act of it. And you really learn what that means when you feel it and see it and do it.
Well, and you got an inner circle that's modeling behavior, modeling opinions, modeling, all that kind of how to treat people.
Absolutely. And, you get out of Masonry what you have time or are willing to put into it. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of appendant bodies within Masonry. You have groups like the Shriners. You have to be a Master Mason to become a Shriner. There's the Scottish Rite, the York Rite, and, of course, what they call the Commandery, which is kind of an homage to the Knights Templar. And every one of these different organizations, you have rituals that you go through, and a part of that is basically Freemasonry is 3 degrees. You have entered apprentice, fellowship, fellowcraft, and master mason. And you go through, after you have to, it's old school. You get voted on. Then if the lodge approves of it, then you get initiated. And
you got to build a little model. You have to use a skill saw. You have to use every tool that they tell you. You have to know how to use a sander.
You got to bring your goat.
But is that the Boy Scouts? Or?
It's like a compass.
But seriously, there's absolutely no element of masonry. Construction, zero of that.
No, but like the tools. So, you got a plumb, square, and a level, like gavel, all of these, the 24-inch gauge that they would use to measure.
Yeah.
All of these tools, Masonry uses as symbols to remind you of something.
Sure.
And
this
information, like this isn't secret stuff. You can find it online.
But originally they were builders. Right from the Templars, and they kind of were dispersed, and they became. That's what they did.
Yeah, it was operative, and they became fellows.
So how did that trade kind of lose its magic as it became older into symbols?
Well, why not branch into other areas? Like if you're George Washington and you want to survey the frontier, you don't want to build a stone fort while you're finding Pittsburgh at the confluence of the rivers.
They're spread thin.
Yes, yeah. Again, I'm not a Mason, but the thing I always found interesting about it is that there is so much suspicion about it. I don't think I've ever told you. My grandfather did not like the Masons because he was like, "Well, they do all business together, and this kind of they worship Lucifer and all this kind of thing." And I'm like, he was hardcore Southern Baptist, and it's. Anytime you're outside of a organization that has secrets, not a secret organization, it's always odd looking at it. Like my personality is one. It's like, then why not join them?
Why not try to understand?
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't base your opinion on ignorance, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just go figure it out. But you get to know a few of them, and you're like, okay, these guys are arguing what we're going to have for lunch next Sunday. I mean, they're not taking over the world anytime soon. So, at least that's been my experience.
They're just normal dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
Masons have always taking some pride in stirring the pot of conspiracies.
Sure.
Yeah, that's part of what you're told
It
after
boosts the relevance.
after your masturbation degree
Right.
is to not argue with the
mystery.
conspiracy theorists. Don't respond to them. Let them do their thing. And that goes. I mean, the Catholic Church did that. Like, and going back to the Papal Acquisitions, they forever were against the Knights Templar, and then when the Masons came around, they were forever against, to this day, against Masonry. And that's part of why there were secrets, if you want to call them that.
Right.
What the degree, the rituals are about, all the catechisms of that, of the esoteric side, that's all secret. But, if I'm going to talk about, what we do in Lodge and what we're doing, that's all wide open. I mean, these buildings are all over the world, and the signs are out front.
Little symbols here and there. Just like
we're
the
here.
national, whatever, you said it earlier, Nicholas
National
Cage.
treasure.
So,
Yeah.
so you say that the Catholic Church is against the Masons like they were the Templar. As a Catholic, are there Catholics within the Masons? Because you have to
A
see,
lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
So how does that dichotomy? How
don't
do
they
they
have-
weigh that against?
Don't the Catholics have their own organization?
Yeah, they have the
Yeah,
Knights of
Templar.
Columbus.
Knights of Columbus. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, with
Yeah.
the hats. Those hats are pretty. I got to admit, I would join just for the hat.
Yeah.
That's the
Apparently
the commander.
Mason hats suck, right?
Yeah.
What's going on?
That's commandery has basically the same uniform, same
Really?
hats, same kind of a thing. Yeah.
Well, the Shriners,
Oh,
get,
wow,
the
okay.
Shriners get the cars.
Oh, that's
That's
true.
what I want.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that makes it worth it. Yeah.
Now the Shriners are great.
Let's
So
what
focus
is
on
going
what's
on?
important. It's the hats.
Hats and
It's
the cars.
hats and the what
Yeah,
you say?
the-
The scarves?
The go-karts.
Has
the
anybody
go-kart.
ever talked to the Shriners about monster truck go karts? I think it's an option.
yeah, well they do NASCAR. They sponsor a car with NASCAR, and they do
Nice.
what is it, the Pro Bowl for college.
Okay.
They sponsor that too. They're pretty heavy, and Shriners are. I'm a Shriner, and that organization was really kind of founded to be the playground of Masonry. They could, outside of Lodge, get together and fellowship, have events and fun. So they're always throwing parties and events, and they
But
raise
it's not
money.
directly affiliated. It's not officially affiliated with.
It's called an independent body. There's a requirement for Shriners that you have to be a Master Mason in good standing.
Oh, okay. So it is
Yeah.
an extension of the.
It
Masons.
is. Yeah,
Okay,
it's an
okay,
extension.
Okay, got you.
And the Shriners, their philanthropy is the Shriner hospitals. And
Oh,
they've got
yeah,
those,
yeah.
and those are some of the greatest hospitals for crippled and burned children there are in the country,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
world. I mean, we fly in people from all over the world, children that have been severely burned, and get them into these hospitals and take care of them. Masons have been funding this since they were founded, and then the Scottish Rite does the same thing. They've got the hospital that's here in Dallas, and then now
There's
there's
one
a
right
couple
here
of-
in Frisco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is.
yeah, the youth orthopedics
Right up
hospital.
off the tollway in
Yeah.
Lebanon. Right.
Yeah.
Now they just had their 100th anniversary a few years ago of the Shriners or the Scottish Rite Hospital, and that's been completely funded by Masons since its opening. Now they take insurance, but Masons, we still raise money to fund it.
Nice.
Same thing with the hospitals. Take donations, take some insurance, of course, to subsidize the cost. But these two organizations are leading in their field. Like Scottish Rite leads the world in pediatric orthopedics. This isn't just a hospital. This is actually a great research and development group as well, and they're leading the world with it. So these hospitals are doing some amazing things for communities everywhere. And it's really exciting to be a part of that. I love those two hospitals.
Do the doctors and the staff have to be a part of the Scottish Rite or the Masons? No.
Yeah, no. Hiring the best. So
Right.
looking for the best in the field and bring them in.
Nice.
And a lot of them,
Do
of
they
course,
pay market price?
I don't work in HR to give that kind of an answer. That's a tough one.
I mean,
would
it seems
assume
like a fair question because if it's coming out of the pockets, I mean, these professionals aren't cheap.
it's not.
No.
They're not there for charity. No.
Yeah.
So no, they're certainly getting paid well.
And they certainly want the best.
They're
right?
they're
I mean,
bringing in the best.
Yeah. So I mean,
they're getting commensurate wages for their skill set, and there's some subsidized volunteers. There's a lot of candy strappers, if you want to call them, at those
Sure.
hospitals. I've spent time doing it myself. I'd encourage anybody, if you got the chance to go visit one
Well,
of
that's a
those
lot
or
of money.
volunteer some time,
Yeah.
it's really a great place. The Scottish Rite Hospitals doesn't even look like a hospital on the inside. It looks more like a school or a daycare. And they designed it that way to make it more of a comfortable, homey
for
environment
kids.
these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So-
that's awesome.
So
That's
yeah,
fascinating stuff, man.
yeah. So
And
they're
you
raising money,
know
doing
the
stuff.
history. You know the history of this stuff. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, like to
Well, that
learn
you're
whatever
totally
I'm
full
doing.
of it. We don't know here.
But Masons have been a part of more than just that. You know, they founded education in Texas. I mean, every schoolhouse was built by Masons, and they built their lodge in Texas to be a schoolhouse with school on the first floor and lodge on the second floor.
Sure.
And the lodge paid for the teachers' salaries and you know all the supplies they needed until they eventually turned it over to the state. And then the state took over the education system.
And that went well.
Yeah, look at us today.
Yeah.
Time to take it back.
So lodges do a lot of fundraising and give away a lot of scholarships. That's one of the biggest things that they do.
Well, I think there's a lot of, I don't think it's misinformation, but just missing information, because I had no idea that Scottish Rite was part of the Masons at all. I've heard of Scottish Rite my entire life, and the Shriners. I didn't know that was part of the Masons at all.
Well,
and the good work that they're doing.
Well, and it seems like they're not all about touting the publicity of it. They just kind of behind the scenes want to do their thing, want to give back, want to, fellowship of men. They're not all about.
He was talking about the heyday.
I like that.
The heyday of the Masons, which was 1940s, 50s, even into the 60s, and for whatever reason, the boomers really didn't join, nor did Gen X, and Masons aren't allowed to try and sell people on it. Like, you need to come and, all this kind of
They don't publicize any of it.
Yeah, because we don't recruit. That's kind of a thing.
No, I like that.
It's not a recruiting
way to grow an organization. You have to be curious and all this kind of thing. So
super cool.
It's kind of odd, yeah.
Yeah, now Masonry needs to be creative to keep people coming in besides the folklore.
Right.
So, in Texas, while we still can't actively go out and recruit, I can certainly sit in a room like this and get to know the guys that I'm sitting with and say, you know what, are you a Mason? No. I could say, man, I bet you would make a good one.
Right.
And just spark the curiosity.
Yeah.
And then if you had some questions, I'd certainly be excited to answer them and invite you to come.
And like you said, every man needs that.
Yeah.
Every man needs that. They need fellowship. They need, to belong to something.
That's where a lot of the problems are right now. I mean, there's guys that aren't given direction because there are fathers out there that are not paving the way. They aren't a representation of what a man should be. It's just society.
Such as that, but there's a lot of fatherless families out there.
That and it's just, we're being stretched across the board working. I mean, there was a time where the dad was working and the mom was at home, and now you need two parents that are working, and it's like your children are left alone, and now you have these devices that are now parenting your kids.
Time sucks.
And the teachers are parenting your kids and teaching them stuff that
So Greg and I have talked extensively about intentional fatherhood. This is something I'm passionate about. This is something Greg's passionate about. So I gifts for all of you, but we came up with Dinnercation.
Grab one of those. Right?
And what this is, you can go to dinnercation.com. These are placemats, and they have different subject matters on them. So you have finance, you have life, you have business. And what this is that, like my dad, I love him, but he really didn't give me a lot of direction in life. Just kind of had to figure it out.
Right.
And if you're waiting for your kid to get home from school and just, how was your day, Johnny? They're not going to figure out life.
No.
In the past, we lived on farms. Our fathers were dentists, and you'd go to work with them. We don't have that anymore. We don't work with our sons anymore. We don't work with our daughters anymore. And so what these are talking points. So, you can't just go to your child and say, okay, you need to save for retirement. Or how do they know how to finance when they get their paycheck? How much should go to rent and utilities? How much should go to food and clothing? How much should go to their retirement? And that's what each of these are. There's 22 points on each of them. And like the 50, 30, 20, that's 50% goes towards your rent or mortgage and utilities and that kind of thing for your home. 30% should go towards food, entertainment, what have you. 20% towards retirement. Because as we all know, with investing, if you have rate, you have time, and you have principal, the most important of those three things is the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you got to start young because compounding, by the time they get ready for retirement, if you start retirement planning when you're 50, it better be lottery tickets.
Yeah, but if you start when you're 19.
Oh my God. Yeah, no.
Dude.
You got a huge nest egg. Yeah. And it's like that on all of them. It's, how do I choose the right spouse? What am I looking for in a husband and a wife? What am I looking for in my friends?
Right.
How do I start a business? Those kind of things. And they're just talking points. It's not, nobody wants to be lectured to.
Right.
Nobody wants to be preached at, but a little 5-minute talk once a week with your kid between the ages of like 7 to 12, it's foundational, and it'll carry them for the rest of their life. And then there's other things, like that. I happen to be the descendant of Major Jonathan Tipton, who was a fighter in the Battle of Kings Mountain, which is a Revolutionary War battle. And it was the turn of the Revolutionary War. Now, all of us, and this is what I find so interesting, all of us have interesting, heroic people in our families that we probably don't know about. We weren't taught about or anything like that.
Right.
If you look at a Roman family from way back in the day, in their entryway, in their foyer, they had death masks of all of their elders that came before them. And they would say, this man was a senator. This man fought the Gauls. This man. And their children would wear these and enact plays. They knew their family history.
Yep.
Now.
And they would honor them and cherish them and be proud of their name and their lineage.
Yeah. Now it's like, well, I met Grandpa, and I heard something about great grandpa, but
I'm from nobody, I am nobody.
Exactly.
It's kind of how they feel.
Yeah. So I want a large presentation to kind of instill that, and I think more men should do that with their children. Of our history didn't start 50 years ago.
No.
We've been working at this. We've been pushing this rock up this hill for a long time. How are we going to carry this on? How am I going to pass this on to you? How do you choose the right friends so that you,
It's not lost on me that it's a placemat either.
Yeah.
Because we talk about
It's
families that eat together, stay together.
Amen.
And we don't do that anymore, man.
No,
That's a lost thing.
Like I'm saying,
No,
it's
it
like
is.
this is part of the way we are now.
Yeah.
I mean, they are taking the family structure away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But they're at least not like endorsing the importance of family.
No, in fact, they're incentivizing the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
There's financial incentives for single mothers. And,
True.
I feel that, and this could be backed up with data, that we're in a crisis of fatherless children across this country
Oh, yeah.
that don't have a father around, or if they do, he's not intentional, he's not involved at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we can look at the data to support that. I mean, take a look at the men that are in prison. How many of them have father issues? Not one around, or one that was a criminal as well. And that number has been tracked, and that's like over 80%.
And partially not to no fault of their own.
Yeah.
They came from a pattern of
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it's not.
That they learned from culture. They learned from their.
We have to turn this around as a society.
Absolutely.
And I think the starting point is creating better men. And I think through that, you get better women and you get a better society. And I don't know, I was encouraged in this last election. I think people are finally connecting the dots of, this what I've been sold doesn't work.
Yep.
So my wife is center left politically, and all of her friends are saying the same thing. A lot of them are, in their 40s, no children, no prospect for a.
They're like, we were bamboozled kind of a thing. Are they
100%.
realizing it?
100%. Yeah. And they're all saying that. And, it's quietly. It's not, they're marching on downtown with it, but it's,
Sure.
we're connecting these dots that this doesn't work. And we have the history to know what does work for a family to make us all happy.
Well, I think when the whole Black Lives Matter, the BLM, wasn't their doctrine, part of their doctrine was to do away with the nuclear family.
Right.
Yeah.
Was to try to tear that apart. And
They scrubbed that from their website, but it was on there at one point.
Yeah.
It's very Marxist in
Thanks,
its core.
George Soros.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's Marxist in its core. And that's bled into education.
Yeah.
Our educational system has been very much dubbed down. We've taken away the classical education and now
You got
replaced it
teachers
with
hanging up gay pride flags.
Yeah, and it's spilled into the universities, and it's grown from there. But
We have to turn this tide.
Our national education system really took a big turn with that when they found. I mean, it was founded by Horace Mann, but what it turned into was where we are today, which is a modern source of education, which is based on standardized testing.
Yeah.
And so all of our kids are being taught basically to memorize.
Yep.
You make a good grade, you're
To
great.
a really low bar.
Yeah. You make a good grade, you're valuable. You make a bad grade, you're bad. You're invaluable. And that sets the stage of your value comes from authority and not from within.
Well, and they're pushing them through the education system, even if they're not passing. If they're not putting in their
Yeah.
work, they still give them a 50%. I'm like, no, you
And
guys.
the- and
That's the No Child Left Behind thing.
And the
right?
class moves on.
it's so dumb.
And it,
Well,
and then
it
this
had
is-
a noble purpose,
Yeah.
but it, like all other types of legislation, it backfires.
Yeah, I've had some serious problems with our local school here on how they prepare our children because I had 2 boys go through the system. Well,
Mhm.
actually, all our kids went through the system.
Right.
My oldest went off to college and was wholly unprepared for it.
Mm.
For one thing, the school district here does not give any kind of final test. They don't prepare you on how to take an exam, how to, learn from the beginning to the end, and then have to go back to the beginning and recall all of that, right?
Mhm.
So we started here, and we worked our way here, and they don't have that. And, I think the school today, I'm not saying the classes are easy, but I think the whole program is easier than it once was.
Sure.
They get early release. They can, the seniors can have half a day.
Mhm.
Screw that. They get out. The grades are turned in 3 weeks early before graduation, which is the incentive to do anything
Right.
at that point.
Yeah, seriously, why would you?
There's no final, like I said. And I think that's detrimental to the kids. My oldest felt it. He
Right.
had to learn on the fly. He called me his freshman year going, Dad, they want me to learn or take a test on everything we had this quarter. He actually called me and asked me that. How do,
Is that
Yeah.
allowed? Can they do that?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's called a final. That's what I was bitching about all those years. Good luck.
See-
And think about it. They coasted into college, right? With their edge wasn't sharp.
Yeah.
Their expectations were low.
Mhm.
They're not resilient anyway.
Yeah.
This generation is the furthest thing from resilient
Mm-hmm.
in terms of dig deep,
Yeah.
fight through it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, to your point, that's exactly the broad stroke of it is that they teach to memorization
Right.
and they don't teach to learn.
Right.
So you memorize it, you regurgitate it, you get a good grade, you're valuable. If you get a bad grade, you're not, and the class moves right on. So internally, they're learning their self-worth comes from authority, and
Right.
that comes from Marxism. And they're not learning subject matter along the way. They're starting, even history, they're starting at the later point, the founding of America. They're not going back and teaching ancient history, Asian,
right.
African, Europe, building up the context to get to where they are. They're going straight to this point, and then this becomes a lesson of oppressor versus oppressed. And that's the mind frame that you get coming out of the public education
Oh, yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Is that
Even if
100%.
you view
even
from the lens of that.
objectively, if like you watch the Ken Burns series about the Civil War, and he's reading privates' letters back home, eloquent, deep emotion. The kid couldn't write that today. In fact, this is some
No.
years ago, but I went and
Use
saw.
emojis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I went and saw the Daniel Day-Lewis Lincoln movie, and I was coming out, and there was a family in front of me, a couple of teenage kids, and one kid said to the other, "I have no idea what he was saying." And this was, Grapevine, Texas. It was in English,
Right.
but they just
And they're like, oh my God, it was so stupid and boring.
they just were losing, and we keep
Yeah.
trying to dumb things down to keep people feeling comfortable, and it's like, no, it's you don't get in shape by, well, let's make you comfortable on the couch. No,
Right.
go to the gym.
Well, I think I saw a stat, or I heard it on one of the news programs, and you may want to pull this up, Chuck, is I think the national average of students that can read is under 50%, or it's very close to
Wow.
that. I think people that are proficient in math is really low as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was extremely surprised at this.
Hmm.
Yeah, so proficient level 30% of 8th graders in
Oh,
reading.
wow.
That was last year.
I think this is by design.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is.
course.
That's what I'm worried
They're
about.
not all that
Yeah.
Of course.
interested in
You know.
self-thinking,
Yeah.
Basic level.
assertive,
Well, I mean, like,
ambitious people.
at what point do the parents storm their local ISD and say, "Hey, we're not taking this off you guys. You guys need to change."
And then you
the
get labeled as
curriculum."
a terrorist.
Yeah, no. Well, that's what happened under the last administration. Yeah, no, it did. But
Yeah, this is all the blueprint of the
we,
Karl Marx and
Yeah.
his theory.
I
Is,
think everybody's
divide
too
the family,
busy not paying attention.
The family is a threat.
dumb,
No question about it.
dumb down
because-
the people.
Yes.
Keep them down. Take control by force, and,
and make them part of the, just part of, what they say, the machinery, right? They just
Yeah.
want everybody play your part and shut up.
So
Yeah.
I want to back up a little bit.
Sure.
Greg, what is the organization you're referring to? What you guys want to do? You have spoke with it. Did you guys want to set up?
Well, you called it intentional fatherhood.
Yeah. Is that
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say an organization, more along the lines of just a general movement in America that we
Yeah.
desperately
Trying to
need.
spread the
are
good word.
Right.
just talking about
it's
it
about
because we need to all
involvement.
be talking
Yeah.
about it.
so? It's
And-
not. We haven't slapped a label on it yet, and but the spirit of it is what we're talking about because
we
you
don't
do have a
own that.
label right here.
Oh.
The Dinnercation, the explaining elegant aphorisms.
Uh-huh.
You said this is available on dinnercation.com.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So look,
Okay, so you do
for
have a
those
website,
listeners,
yeah.
Yeah.
those listeners out there that are listening to this. So if you've got kids or you got grandkids, or if you just want it because you
Yeah.
want to have a wonderful vocabulary of aphorisms, this is great. You know, they've got each Matt has about 24 phrases, mottos, etc. That everyone should know. You know, it's not about the money. It's
There's the
it's
website.
not about the money, but it's about the money. You know, every action you take is a vote for a person that you want to be. True hell is when the person you are meets the person you could have become. So there's just a bunch of them. There they are up on the list. These are fantastic.
They are.
They used to have these at the doctor's office. They used to have these in the nurse's office
Seriously,
at
yeah.
school, and and these were great things for the kids to listen to and read. In passing, because you got to instill that in the everyday thought process, and that's missing. That's absolutely missing right now.
So the idea
these are
is
great.
that on the next
Kudos.
step is that Greg and I will be alliterating or illuminating rather what each of these points are. Just, in case they don't seem clear at first glance, just, hey, this is what we're trying to talk about here. How to pick your friends,
I have a question about one of them that's not
Sure.
clear at all. It's under finance, number
Okay.
19.
Uh-huh.
Smart men go broke in 3 ways: liquor, ladies, and leverage.
Yes.
I don't know you guys.
How about this?
I'm
How about this?
struggling. I'm
How about this
really
bourbon we're
struggling
drinking?
with
Really,
this one.
it's not a perfect science.
It said smart men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the whiskey real quick, but
Yeah.
do we have permission to post some of these?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
no, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
I
Well,
hope you do.
we've got a first half whiskey we're going to talk about real quick, and we'll go around the table and we'll kind of just chat about it. This is the Whistlepig small batch Piggyback 100 and is it 110 proof? No, 100 proof.
100 proof. Yeah.
6-year. Is it bottle and bond?
No.
Yeah, it's got it. No,
No, small batch.
small batch.
It's
All right.
not. It's not bottle and bond.
It's not bottle and bond. So this is Whistlepig Piggyback, 6 years. This one we have no idea why we picked it because it probably had the most in it. And
Whistlepig makes some decent stuff too.
and
the problem
it's 6 years.
yeah,
I
the
mean,
problem I have with Whistlepig, their general product is it's extremely expensive typically for
for
you
what
get.
it is,
For what you get.
Yeah, they're very proud of their booze. Now this isn't bad.
It is a single batch.
Well, it's a small batch.
yeah,
Or is it a small?
it's
small
a small
batch?
batch.
Okay. Yeah,
So for those who don't know what a small batch is, they take a cluster of barrels and they claim that as a small batch, and they mix them all together, and that's the product that comes out.
But it's kind of a marketing term because a small batch for Whistlepig and a small batch for Heaven's Hill could be wildly different. Theirs could be 100 barrels. Heaven's Hills could be 5,000 barrels.
Oh.
That's a small batch for Heaven Hill
Isn't that funny? Yeah, some of them.
because they produce so much.
I think they said a small batch for Jim Beam was 50,000 barrels. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, it can mean a lot of different
It's
things.
a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
it's specific to the actual distiller.
Nice.
And obviously, the smaller the distiller, the less barrels.
So with
Right.
guys,
All right, so let's talk
I
about
just got to say it's a fantastic bourbon. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. All right, so
Yeah.
let's talk about the nose. What do you guys get from the nose? And do you need another pour there, Greg? Or I know you
Sure.
kind of, I think you spilled
Just a
yours.
small one.
Well, I tell you what, the first thing I got when I stuck my nose in there is I got chocolate.
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 That's what I got. A little
Yeah.
chocolate and caramels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chocolate, and especially on the nose. Not so much on the palate, but the finish. I'm getting lots of peanuts.
It's not that kind of podcast.
Peanut.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Would you? Yeah, okay.
Mine are bigger than peanuts, John.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh,
We have guests, Jim.
almonds.
Okay.
Brazil nut.
So yeah, it's glossing over, I don't have a fantastic nose, so unless it's over 110, 120 proof, the smell doesn't come through as much as I'd like it to. But as far as the taste goes, this is the classic, what I haven't said in a long time, classic stone fruit, lightly floral.
Any anise?
I don't taste anise in this one, surprisingly.
Thank God.
There's a hint
We're
of-
on like an 8-week streak of anise.
Everyone that had an anise tasted it.
No.
Well, I tasted it.
I taste the vanilla a little bit. It's got a good
Oh, yeah,
vanilla
there's
to it.
actually some
Yeah.
sweetness on there as well.
Yeah.
I'm picking up some
It's
sweetness.
very, very, very easy to drink. I mean, for 100 proof, I could put a couple ice cubes in a straw and drink a pint.
A pint.
So are you guys?
this is not bad.
Are you guys big whiskey or bourbon drinkers?
I like a good mixed drink, like an old fashioned.
Right.
I normally don't go straight. I know it's heresy.
No, it's
No,
not
it's
at
not.
all.
it's
I
not.
love old fashions.
Yeah.
Well, my question is: are you guys used to higher proof liquor?
Oh yeah.
100, 110, 120 kind of stuff. Okay.
Okay.
I actually haven't been drinking for the last 3 years now.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, great.
We
Great.
broke that
Correct
seal.
that.
Just kind of broke the seal.
Remember, iron
Yeah.
sharpens iron.
I know, right?
In this case, it's been
Well, like a
magnetized.
stone against the rock, right? Yeah. No, I stopped drinking as a part of my wellness journey. But before that, I was into bourbons.
Sure.
Right.
And I mean, I still have a stack of bottles that I have that I'm like looking at the house, like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah, well, I know. You just
so-
bring them over here and,
Give them to Craig.
and we'll put them in the collection.
Well, there's everyone's got their own path. You said mixed drinks, old fashions. I think I'm on the cusp of being an alcoholic. I don't drink a whole lot, but I can pound back when I do drink. And I don't know how some of these guys like old fashions. Good
No,
Lord.
they're dangerous.
Yeah,
They-
they sneak
I
up on you.
The part of it is that I can drink them.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to drink.
Oh, yeah.
So
Mhm.
I
Drink
don't
them
I don't
fast.
do mixed drinks. I don't do
Yeah.
old fashions. I drink them straight and I drink them strong, and that way I sip them.
Mm.
And that's really, for me, that's been successful. I don't know how you guys can do it, because a Jack and Coke, oh my God.
I can't
If
do
you
that.
mix that stuff or some
Yeah.
sort of sweetener or even club soda,
Mhm.
shoot.
Yeah.
It's crushable.
Yeah, it can be.
I mean,
yeah.
I could just crush it.
Yeah, it can be dangerous for sure.
Oh yeah, that first one is harsh, but those next couple ones go down smooth.
Oh
and
yeah.
that was my problem. Is I'd get 6, 8, 10, 12 drinks in, and I was hammered. And
Right.
I would say I was pretty close to where you are describing yourself. That I wasn't an alcoholic, but I felt like I was just on the edge of it. It's not something I did every day, but I traveled a lot for work and have a hard day at work. You're at the hotel. Usually somebody else has have their company credit
Right.
card out,
Yep.
and
Right.
bam,
Throw back 3
work
of them in
hard,
a hurry. Yeah.
play hard. Drinks were usually free,
Oh, Lord.
and it was too much. And
Right.
and I just hit a point with my health that was like, okay, this isn't working, and it's certainly not contributing towards me improving. And so I just made a conscious decision to step back.
And
Good for
that's
you.
admirable.
And that's a hard call to make for a lot of guys.
And
yeah,
so
it is.
we
It
broke
is.
it.
It is, and I certainly appreciate that. And
You broke your streak.
I don't have any judgments on it. But
No, there's
I
a
could
lot of
sit
our
here
friends that don't drink, and that I think you have to be receptive to that, because in fact there's been some people that want to be on the podcast and like, well, I don't drink. I was like, well, we do a Dudes Like Us podcast, but it's not necessarily all about liquor. Liquor or our whiskeys that we drink is maybe not even 5%. It's barely.
It's maybe
you know.
10%. Yeah, well, 10 minutes of a conversation, if that sometimes. And sometimes we talk about it, we get off of it so fast.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's
Oh, yeah,
just
Exactly.
Because-
Y'all need to rate this.
it depends on who. It depends on who's here. Like if we have a distiller or a sommelier or steward or something, and we want to talk about their product, we'll spend a whole podcast talking about it because we want to pump it up. We want to taste it. We want to dive into it. And the listeners out there, because we have millions,
A million.
the listeners out there, they want to know too. I mean, there's some adamant listeners out there, and they want to hear all about the stuff that we talk about when it comes to some of these whiskeys. And sometimes they don't want to hear any of it. They want to hear Jeff's next vocabulary word that nobody's ever heard. They want to hear Paul say something,
Anything.
and some of my stupid stories that I tell.
Well, the healthy lifestyle is making a bit of a comeback right now, if it was ever out, but or in, but it is becoming popular now to not drink. and you're seeing a lot of
Yeah.
And it's actually hurting the industry.
It is.
yeah.
They're having a lot lower sales than what they're
Correct.
anticipating, so they're taking a hit from it.
And
so-
we're talking about bars too,
Yeah.
like liquor
Yeah.
stores and bars. And
Frankly,
restaurants
I don't
and-
think people can afford it.
Well, that's part
Yeah,
of the problem.
there's
That's
also
part of the
that.
problem.
Yeah.
well, it is the cause of and
Yeah.
solution to all of life's problems.
Sure. So, are you guys sticking around for the second half? Because I would love to talk more about the wellness stuff.
yeah,
but-
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You
great.
bet.
All right, let's do that. Let's make sure we have that on the board.
So
we'll do-
before we in the segment of the whiskey section part, we want to what we normally do is rate it. We'll kind of I'm going to rate this one. This is 100 proof. So this is the 100 proof category. The Whistlepig
There's a lot.
Piggyback 100 bourbon whiskey. It's a fair. It's kind of meh. The flavor it hits you in the front mildly, and then it leaves right away. It leaves a little iced tea about 5 minutes, a couple minutes later. You still got some resonance of some tea back there with some sweet tea. But, is it something I would buy again? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
wouldn't.
too many better options out there.
Yeah, especially for the 100 proof stuff. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot more. So, hell, Michter's is 100 proof, and that thing blows this shit out of the water.
Right.
You know?
That was 95.
95, and it's just
95.
it's very flavorful, and this one just doesn't hit it. I am shamefully going to give this one a 4.9.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm not that low.
I'm disappointed.
No, I'm not that low. I'm around the 6. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the others that are in that range.
Who are they?
In the 6s, you got the Wildcatter, the Lux Row Blood Oath that we just had.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, we thought that was decent.
Right. The Cooper's Craft, Luca Mariano.
I'm gonna go 5.8.
I'm going to go 6. Just because it's easy to drink, it's smooth. I think it's this would be a good one for someone. The reason I ask is because we have people ask us, what's your favorite bourbon? Well, we like the shit that's 115, 120 proof.
We do.
And if
That's
you're not
true.
used to that, that's why I was asking, is that easy to drink for you? Because if you're not used to that proof, it's
I think
hard.
it's also
and
about
harsh.
price point, right? I
That's a
mean,
big part of
but
it.
this is
part
under
of it.
$50.
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I
It's
think it
$50.
said MSRP was $42.99.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as 100 proof, it's very easy to drink. And I think this is
Mhm.
very approachable for
Yeah, absolutely.
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
run of the mill, decent one at 100 proof. I would agree with that.
But for me personally, I mean, if I were to rate it for somebody else, it'd be a little bit higher. But for me, on my scale, it's going to be 4.9.
It's better than Eagle Rare
Or Eagle Rare.
with Amberana.
That's true. Now, you know what? We want to save that for the second half?
Yeah.
The Amorano?
Yeah, we should.
You got your package in the mailbox, right?
Actually, I saw it down there when I came home. I haven't looked at it yet
What the hell, man? How could you not look at a T-shirt in a little plastic thing stapled to
because
it?
I walked in and Craig knocked on the door and I was like, "All right, who's this?"
I put it in your mailbox
The
yesterday.
damn Mormons are here again.
He released the hounds.
I gave it the office.
The look of confusion.
I
in
was-
his
I was
face,
like,
like, who are these
I
clowns?
was like,
He's like,
looking at the
"Dude,
podcast. I was like, "Oh, Sean, I got it."
He's like, I just had hail. You guys are already at my door.
I literally walked in and right through the door. So I'm sorry about that.
No,
But no,
worries.
I have not opened it and looked at it yet. So I'll grab it during the break.
So we made some T-shirts, some Dude Like Us T-shirts. There's a variety of different ones out there. This one's kind of ridiculous. If you don't mind, bring it up. I want these guys to see it.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
take
we'll
a look
talk
at
about it. All right, cool.
All right.
All right, we got a couple minutes. You guys want to stab at anything before we sign off for the first half?
Let's see.
Let's
Well,
go.
let's
that was
save some of
pretty
the
good.
big topics for the next
Yeah,
round,
yeah,
for,
yeah.
for the next one. But
Yeah.
let's see.
Well,
we
real
get-
quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about fantasy football.
Oh,
Jesus.
Are you guys? Do you do fantasy football?
Not anymore. No,
I do not.
I don't have
Yeah.
time. Limited time.
I think after
Right.
this
Yeah.
year, I'm going to quit.
Did
Let's
you
just-
see who's in first place?
No, I'm not even
God.
watching.
We don't need to talk about fantasy football
Oh, that's why you want to talk
Yes,
about
that's
fantasy,
why.
jackass.
because it's never happened before.
It never has.
You need to act like you've been there before. Act
know,
like
I'm
I
always
you've
in
been there.
last. I'm always in last place.
I recall
I'm in
this
first
time
place.
last year, I was first place, and I was
Yes.
talking shit. And
Yes,
then I
you
think I
were.
lost every game after that.
Yeah.
Well, that was
And-
after,
That's how
that
it goes.
continues into
That's how
this
it
year
goes.
too.
Oh, my God. I'm lost the first two games of the year.
No, no,
Three.
Three.
Three?
yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
you lost
the
again.
pain,
Yeah.
the humanity.
Right? That's why we do fantasy football, because that gives us a reason to give each other shit, right?
Any excuse to talk shit's a good excuse. So
It's a good
I'm all for
So
it.
the
100% in.
the group of guys that we do fantasy football with, it's guys that we've known for 15 years plus.
We played. Some of us have been together since 1998.
Maybe this is our Junto, right?
Yeah, see, I stopped doing
Do it.
fantasy football, but I got a couple of buddies that were in a group text, and I still jump in and talk shit to them like I'm playing.
Right?
But it's great
Right.
because I don't have any skin in the game, and they don't know who I picked, so I can just make stuff up as
There
I
you
go.
go.
Well, I think technology's gone a long way now where you don't have to do that much work. It's all automated. It's on the phone. I mean, I remember, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, she's getting old, 27 years ago, we're doing fantasy football, and then you have to wait till the Sunday paper comes out or the Monday morning paper, and then you're looking at the stats and you're adding it all up, and it's just like, oh, Alan Harper got over 100 yards, X +2.
Can this not be the new bar of how we rate our AI systems on how well it picks fantasy football teams?
Yeah.
We should be.
It seems fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
it should be able to do better than we do.
How does quantum mechanics affect me? It doesn't.
I got to be honest, man. I was trying to find what they call cheat sheets, which are just simply lists of the players.
Sure.
And they are non-existent.
You have to pay for them now.
Well, yeah. And
I don't mind paying for them, but you have 100 and they all look nefarious. And it's just like, which one do you go with? I pay $20 here. No, I don't want to pay $5 a month for the rest of my life.
Right.
I'll pay $20 right now if you give me a fucking list and I can sign off after it. I'm done. Yeah, that's all I wanted.
I thought I had the secret weapon. I was going to use ChatGPT to create all of those cheat sheets. And
Nice.
I went through this big thing with it. I was like, find me all the cheat sheets. I want you to aggregate it, pull them all together, find out what each of them had for all these different players. It was like, you want to do this and this and this? I was like, you're damn right I do. It goes, all right, I'll do it for you. Total fail.
Number one quarterback, Troy Aikman.
No, the first thing it did was give me a blank spreadsheet. I was like, what the hell is this?
What am I going to do with this?
And then I said that. I was like, what is this? Why did you give me a blank spreadsheet?
It's using
You're
white
right.
font.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we're looking.
It turned into 45 minutes of, I'm sorry. And I was like, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the conspiracy theorist says that's a design by Vegas to keep it that way.
My goodness. It was a train wreck. Anyway,
Yeah.
but you know what's one thing that's really good about, you talked about the junta, right? These are guys that I would probably not, a lot of them, I would not talk to if we wouldn't play fantasy football. It's an excuse, and we get together in person for the draft every year, and that's the only time I see these guys.
Maybe
once a year.
Maybe halftime or mid-year, we'll do a little gathering sometimes. I think we've done that
Right.
once.
So that is the
Couple
one
times.
valuable thing about it. Is
Awesome.
guys you would never talk to.
And it's camaraderie.
It is.
You know?
Absolutely.
It's a
Gotta
form
have it.
of it.
It
It's
is.
different from like the ones that, I don't mean to slam the workmates out there that have the office teams, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't really subscribe to that. But, this group of guys, this is fun because these are lifelong friends, and that's awesome.
That is.
And a reason to give them shit, like you said earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Dude, it's been a pleasure having you guys on the first half. We're going to have fun on the second half.
Awesome.
All right.
Nice.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
All right, well, check us out on Dudes Like Us podcast on Facebook and Instagram. We have the first half of the September 23rd, 2025. Thank you, Chuck, for staying on top of shit. Dudes Like Us, I'm Sean.
I'm Paul.
I'm Jeff.
Craig.
And
And Greg.
Yeah,
all right.
follow